Tonight, all the day's major developing stories here on Prime.
And you see from this one.
That's a settlement.
One,
okay.
2, 3, all this is...
Everywhere.
Yes, this is all...
You're surrounded.
Surrounded, yes, unfortunately.
We're in the West Bank, where nearly nightly raids are being conducted as the IDF looks for Hamas militants, while taking a closer look at the Palestinian loss of life there and the settlements that have exacerbated tensions in the region. Plus...
Thanks, God, for keeping me alive. Thanks for keeping me safe. Please fix this fire damage. Amen.
3 months since deadly wildfires tore through Maui, the focus has been cleaning up and restoring what once was. We're on the ground with an exclusive look at the cleanup effort. And
the idea is that if it gets into one person's eardrums, you're like, you know, they're listening and they're like, wow, like that's the feeling that you want people to feel.
She was known for her involvement in writing and producing some of the world's biggest musical artists, including Beyonce, but now she's rising into prominence in her own right. We sit down with Ray in tonight's Prime playlist. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're following those stories and much more, including the investigation into potentially deadly envelopes laced with fentanyl sent to election offices across the country and who could be behind them. Plus, the major development in that Alabama riverboat brawl that went viral on social media. And the Hollywood actor strike is over, but the fallout is still being felt from that stalemate, from postponed award shows to the tens of thousands out of work. We take a look by the numbers. Our correspondents are fanned out across the country covering those stories and much more for us tonight. But we do begin with Israel formalizing and expanding 4-hour pauses amid the relentless fighting and bombardment in Gaza, and brand new images of a U.S. retaliatory airstrike on Iranian-backed forces in Syria in the last day. The DoD released video from the F-15s that targeted a weapons storage facility in Syria. This comes as the White House announced Israel has agreed to expand 4-hour pauses in the fighting to give Palestinian civilians safe passage. Thousands are fleeing North Gaza, many of them on foot. The pause may help the urgent negotiations for the release of some 240 hostages still being held in Gaza. Video released by Hamas's military wing shows its fighters in running battles and close contact with Israeli forces. Israel's Defense Force also released new footage of its troops pushing deeper into Gaza. We begin tonight with our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, on the ground for us in Tel Aviv.
Tonight, dramatic new video showing the moment the U.S. unleashed retaliatory airstrikes on what it says are Iranian-backed forces in Syria. The Pentagon saying it hit a weapons storage facility used in attacks on American troops in Iraq and Syria. This was the second such strike, coming after more than 45 drone and rocket attacks on U.S. forces since mid-October, including 4 more in the past 24 hours. Most were intercepted and no serious injuries were reported. Also tonight, American and Israeli spy chiefs conducting high-level negotiations to free more of the 239 hostages, including Americans, held in Gaza. A U.S. official confirming to ABC News that CIA Director Burns took part in a meeting in Doha today with the head of Israel's Mossad and the Qatari Prime Minister regarding a potential deal. And today, the White House claiming Israel's agreed to expand daily 4-hour combat pauses in northern Gaza to let more civilians flee. President Biden asked if he wanted more from Israel.
Did you ask for a 3-day pause to Netanyahu for that?
Yes. I've asked for even a longer pause for some of it.
Are you frustrated with Prime Minister Netanyahu that he has not listened more to some of the things you have asked him to do?
It's taken a little longer than I hoped.
With more Gazans fleeing the bombing through humanitarian corridors, some families finally reunited. Today, our team was with Rami Massoud, who saw his wife and sons for the first time in nearly 3 weeks. His wife recounting a terrifying journey on foot, seeing dead people on the ground, bullets flying over the heads of her and her children. And tonight, haunting new images of 2 of the Israeli hostages held inside Gaza. Palestinian Islamic Jihad releasing a video of 77-year-old Hannah Katzir and 12-year-old Yagil Yaakov. ABC News isn't showing it, but the families agreed to us using these images. They were both kidnapped from kibbutz Nir Oz. Yagil hid in a safe room with his older brother Or, their father and his partner. They tried in vain to hold the door closed, but the terrorists burst in. The last thing his mother heard her son say was, "Don't take me, I'm too young."
They're not bargain chips, they're children. Children anywhere in the world are not supposed to be part of this. Not in Gaza, nor in Israel, nor in Ukraine, nowhere in the world.
We already buried them.
We were back in Kibbutz Nir Oz today with Ron Bahat, one of the surviving members. He showed us home after home of residents killed or captured, including that of Hannah Katzir, who appeared in that video today.
They murdered Rami in the house and took Hannah. She's missing.
At the end of the video today, Hannah sends her love to her husband Rami. She still doesn't know yet that he was killed by the terrorists that day.
So unnerving for those who still don't know if their loved ones are dead or alive. Ian Pannell joins us now. Ian, with the U.S. releasing a second round of retaliatory attacks, how big could this Middle East conflict grow?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a second round of retaliatory strikes, apparently involving two F-15 fighter jets, striking this weapons munitions depot. 2 explosions, apparently, the second one caused by the weapons that were stored there. But the Pentagon says that there have been 4 more attacks back on U.S. forces since then. So that makes 46 attacks in all on U.S. and coalition forces in just under 3 weeks. You know, only last night, a senior defense official was saying that these latest strikes by the U.S. was supposed to be a message to Iran to tell its proxy groups to stop attacking U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. Well, it seems either they didn't hear the warning or they didn't heed it. And as you suggest, with the obvious risk that these tit-for-tat attacks could escalate. Lindsay?
Does sound that way. Ian Pannell for us in Tel Aviv. Thanks so much, Ian. The tensions over the war between Israel and Hamas are causing unrest here in the U.S. as well. A fight erupted outside a screening in Los Angeles today. A film featured graphic footage of the October 7th Hamas terror attack. The screening was held at the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, attracting dueling protests. The film also generated controversy and threats on social media. The police ended up using pepper spray on the crowd. The FBI is now investigating after envelopes containing fentanyl or another powdery substance were mailed to election offices in at least 3 states. Officials are calling it domestic terrorism, and it's just the latest hostile act targeting election workers across the country. ABC senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky has those details.
Tonight, just days after Americans cast their votes, the FBI is investigating threatening letters that were sent to election facilities in 5 states where those ballots are counted. At least 2 of those letters testing positive for fentanyl.
This is a form of domestic terrorism. That's all that it is. And unfortunately, what they're doing is putting innocent people at risk and disrupting our elections.
The letters were sent to California, Georgia, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington state, where 4 election offices were evacuated.
As I sat down for my own batch to open up, the fire alarm went off. Immediately, we knew that something was going on.
First responders near Seattle said preliminary tests showed the presence of fentanyl. In Tacoma, police finding a letter containing baking soda and a message advising it was meant to end elections now. In Georgia, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was alerted to a letter heading to Fulton County.
Well, we don't know what's in it. We just have to assume the worst and be prepared for that.
Raffensperger's concerned that envelope could also contain fentanyl, just a tiny amount. What can fit on the tip of a pen could be fatal. They've now equipped Fulton County officials with Narcan.
Some people like to call fentanyl a drug, but it's actually poison. It'll kill you. It'll kill you very quickly, very easily.
Threats to election workers have become more frequent in recent years, prompting a troubling exodus from their ranks after the 2020 presidential election.
Aaron Katersky joins us now. Aaron, do we know if these letters were connected at all?
Investigators so far, Lindsay, have linked the Washington state letters with the one on its way to Georgia. Suspicious mail turned up, too, in Nevada and in Lane County, Oregon, where they had to pause the count of the ballots for a time. And in California, Postal Service workers said they intercepted 2 suspicious envelopes before they reached election offices locally. Lindsay?
Aaron Katersky for us. Aaron, thanks so much. And for more on this, now let's bring in former FBI agent and ABC News contributor Brad Garrett. Brad, thanks for coming on. Let's follow up on what Aaron was reporting there. How will investigators go about tracking the source of these letters and whether they're connected?
So you start with the postal inspectors, which are federal agents for the Postal Service. We used them extensively, obviously, in the anthrax mailings back right after 9/11. And so because of the markings, Lindsay, on the envelopes themselves, in other words, they would know from those markings what distribution or sorting facility the letter went to. But once you know that, you can then figure out the ring of potential places the mail could have come from. In other words, it could have been picked up at someone's house. It could have been dropped in a box. The anthrax mailer dropped them in boxes. He drove all the way to New Jersey. Of course, we didn't know who he was. He did live down close to Washington. But the point being, you can probably track them at least to a distribution center. You may be able to track them to a particular location if, in fact, there's any sort of trace evidence that would help you. If fentanyl is involved, it's an entirely different animal in what you're looking for or the ability to perhaps even detect it, unlike anthrax.
And given the states targeted, it does seem like whoever was responsible was potentially politically knowledgeable. Does that indicate anything like a specific motive or goal for whoever was behind this?
Well, if you look at who it was mailed to, that certainly it's a suggestion that people are trying to disrupt the election. Obviously, since 2020, we've been talking a lot about disruption of elections and allegations that the last election wasn't fair, etc. So there's still a core group of people that still believe that. And so they also believe, I think, that the system is crooked, rigged, whatever word you want to use, because there are politicians that are using those terms. So those folks, some version of those folks, I assume, would be involved in these mailings because really nothing else makes any sense.
And this comes, of course, during a heightened threat environment with conflicts overseas and political divisions right here at home. How are officials being extra vigilant at this time, given that?
So it's another thing that law enforcement doesn't need to deal with, the number of threats that we are getting right here in the United States because of the two conflicts in Ukraine and Hamas/Israel. You're going to have to set aside people. Probably a separate task force will start to look at these letters. The advantage we have is because of what I mentioned earlier, the mailings that occurred after 9/11 and the work that was done in that case, they'll probably overlay investigative techniques and tools that they use there to investigate this case.
Brad Garrett, our thanks to you as always. 2 days after Democrats' strong election showing, a bombshell announcement that threatens their Senate majority. Senator Joe Manchin announced he will not seek re-election in 2024 in the deep red state of West Virginia. It came as President Biden was taking a victory lap with union auto workers in Illinois, reminding them that he stood with them during their strike. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce.
Tonight, a political bombshell from Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, the conservative Democrat announcing he will not run for re-election in the deep red state.
I believe in my heart of hearts that I've accomplished what I set out to do for West Virginia.
The move has huge implications for Democrats' ability to hold on to the Senate and possibly the White House. Manchin today clearly leaving the door open for a third-party presidential run.
What I will be doing is traveling the country and speaking out to see if there is an interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring Americans together.
Manchin is affiliated with a group called No Labels that is exploring a centrist unity ticket in 2024. They are already on the presidential ballot in 12 states, including several key battlegrounds. But Democrats warn they could play spoiler, taking votes away from President Biden and benefiting Donald Trump. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has called No Labels perilous to democracy. Biden has called their efforts a mistake. The president today with auto workers in Illinois, taking a victory lap after they won a new contract. Biden reminding those workers he joined them on the picket line, the first president in history to do so, and Donald Trump did not.
Here's the difference. When you're in the middle of a fight, I stood and others stood with you shoulder to shoulder on that picket line. Yeah. My predecessor went to a non-union shop and attacked you.
Yes, he did!
I hope you guys have a memory. Where I come from, it matters.
The president hoping to score some points there. Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. Mary, when can we expect No Labels to announce if they plan to move forward with a third-party presidential ticket?
Well, Lindsay, the group says that they plan to make it known early next year whether they will nominate their own unity ticket and who will be on it. And looking ahead, they say they have a strategy to be on the ballot in all 50 states by Election Day. Tonight, they are commending Senator Manchin, calling him a longtime ally of their movement. Lindsay.
Could be a big difference maker. Mary Bruce from the White House. Thanks so much, Mary.
Thank you.
We turn now to a scary scene for one passenger jet taking off from London headed to the U.S. It took off and was in flight before they realized parts of some of the windows were missing. ABC's Gio Benitez has the details.
Tonight, we're learning that a charter flight from London to Orlando was forced to turn around after the crew realized 4 of its windows were damaged. The Titan Airways plane taking off on October 4th from Stansted Airport with 20 crew members and passengers on board. A report by the UK's Air Accident Investigation Branch saying after takeoff, a crew member noticed that the seal on one of the windows was flapping in the airflow and window pane appeared to have slipped down. That crew member describing the noise in the cabin as loud enough to damage your hearing. The problem wasn't discovered until the plane was 14,000 feet in the air, but the cabin was never depressurized. According to UK investigators, the windows were damaged by high-powered lights used during a film shoot the day before.
Gio Benitez joins us now. Gio, so what happened with this flight after the issue was discovered?
So, Lindsay, thankfully, the plane landed safely back in London some 36 minutes after it took off. And now investigators, they're trying to figure out exactly what happened here to make sure that this never happens again, Lindsay.
All right. Gio Benitez for us. Thanks so much, Gio. We turn again to the Middle East, where the tensions in the West Bank continue to rise. To date, a large number of Palestinians have been killed since Hamas terrorized Israel on October 7th. This is the UN and human rights groups warn that violence there has risen rapidly, with Israeli settlers accused of harassing Palestinians with near impunity in an escalating cycle of violence. Inez de la Quatara brings us this report.
The occupied West Bank, the heart of historic Palestine.
And you see from this one.
That's a settlement.
1, 2, 3, all this is
everywhere.
Yes, this is all.
You're surrounded.
Surrounded, yes, unfortunately.
How do the borders get decided?
There's a map, and the map shows where the border is. How the map is made, I don't know.
Now, with the world's eyes on Gaza, violence against Palestinians here has been surging. The West Bank has been under Israeli military occupation since 1967, with varying degrees of Palestinian autonomy. But more and more Israeli communities, known as settlements, are being built here, considered illegal under international law.
That's the ABC.
Following the October 7 terror attacks, the IDF conducting near nightly raids it says are meant to take out Hamas militants, while settler attacks on Palestinians are also on the rise. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, at least 173 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank since the October 7 attacks, making 2023 the deadliest year in this land since the UN began keeping records in 2005. Among those killed, farmer Bilal Saleh, shot while picking olives with his family in their own field.
This is the olive picking. It's like a festival for us, or carnival. Every year, same time, October, November. It's not something new. We practiced this 100 years before.
His family says this video shows the moment settlers came down from across the opposite hillside, gun in hand. A shot rings out. Bilal found dead moments later. He leaves behind 4 young children, Mohammed, Malak, Mais, and Musa. Bilal's family says settlers have been emboldened by Israel's far-right government and by the war.
They come with the forces and with the weapons, and they put their containers, and the people, they start to make some protesting. They start shouting and screaming, this is our land, this is our... So the things, it's escalating.
The The UN says more than 820 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank have been displaced since October 7th. Whole villages forced to leave their homes under the threat of settler intimidation, harassment, and violence.
They closed the entrance and they didn't allow to anybody. If you have some pregnant, they cannot go to the hospital. If you have some old man, he need to go to hospital. Also, it's not easy. They are saying go to Egypt, go to Jordan. You're asking me to leave my land?
The issue of who these harsh lands belong to has never been more fraught, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu allying with Israel's far right to form a government at last year's election. Far-right Minister of National Security Itamar Ben-Gvir, a settler himself, loosening gun regulations for Israelis and announcing plans to purchase 10,000 rifles for civilian security teams in the West Bank. In other words, for settlers.
I am not expert in weapons, but there is difference between the small one and the big one. They are distributing the gun machines like you are spreading bread to the people.
During a visit to the West Bank Wednesday, Prime Minister Netanyahu saying Israel won't tolerate Jewish extremists taking the law into their own hands, condemning what he said was a small minority who were damaging Israel's reputation on the international stage. We cannot tolerate this, he said. We will act against it in all ways. Secretary of State Antony Blinken raising the issue during his recent visit to Israel.
What I heard today was a clear commitment from the government to deal with extremist violence in the West Bank, to condemn it, to take action to prevent it, to take action against those who perpetrate it.
We were given rare access to visit the settlement of Bat Ain.
Do you want to come in?
Where we meet Daniel Winston, an Israeli-American settler originally from Chicago.
This is not just real estate. This land is an expression of the fact that if you believe that God, who created the whole universe and created this world, and that he wrote the Bible, if he says in the Bible, I want the children of Israel to live in the land of Israel, so for me, that's not only an imperative, it's an invitation.
You feel, according to the Bible, this is your land. So what's your response when you hear, that under international law, settlements are considered illegal?
Well, the Bible trumps international law.
Palestinians say this is their land. They've been here for centuries. How does anyone find a solution here?
Before we find a solution, we have to understand what the premises are. The Palestinians can say whatever they want, but the fact is there is no such thing as a Palestinian people.
But according to 139 of the 193 UN member states, Palestinian territories are a state. However, key nations like the US, the UK, and France do not recognize Palestine. That's 3 of the 5 permanent member states, leaving the official global acknowledgement of Palestine in limbo. Daniel is also part of the settlement's security patrol.
I'm sure you've seen the reports, the death toll of Palestinians being killed just this month alone. What do you make of that?
I have nothing against the Arabs. I have something against the way they're acting. And therefore, I have to do what I have to do. I have to carry a gun. I have to be alert. I have to, and the soldiers of Israel have to respond accordingly.
But Daniel dismisses the notion that settler attacks are on the rise.
You see a video, you see a picture of a Jew carrying a gun, you see them shooting, you don't know what came before, you don't know what came after, and I'm not trying to justify it, I'm trying to say, if they broke a law, so let the law get involved.
In Bilal's case, an off-duty IDF soldier was arrested and later released by a judge who was satisfied he acted in self-defense. Bilal's family now left to pick up the pieces. 4 children left to grow up without a father, and fearing the worst is still to come.
For us as a Palestinian, West Bank is everywhere. We are calling for peace. I am not for fighting and war. We need to have a normal life.
Powerful story. Our thanks to Inez for telling it. Still much more to get to tonight on Prime. New developments in that Alabama riverfront brawl. Who police are now charging in this case? And how high can he go. Why actor and musician Jared Leto climbed the Empire State Building this morning. But next, in the wake of the devastation caused by deadly wildfires in Maui, are concerns about what's left behind. In our Prime Focus, we have an exclusive look at the work to remove the toxic debris.
We need to understand that this is not just a normal job site, that the pain and loss that has occurred here is something that we always have to remain respectful of.
Whenever news breaks,
the crush of families here in Poland.
Here in Kentucky, no match for the tornado.
From Monterey Park, California, on the ground in Ukraine.
Reporting from Uvalde, Texas.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine. Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
From Kathmandu, Nepal.
Truckee, California, covering record snowfall.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
Here at this airport in Tampa, it's already shut down.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Reporting from Jerusalem.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Everybody in that home is okay.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. We are here at fashion's biggest night out.
What's happening today? YouTube has unveiled a new set of policies.
What people are talking about. The new ad campaign.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
A real-life Barbie dream house.
A name change for the Wienermobile.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Welcome back, everyone. In Hawaii, life is all about the land, known as the Aina. In the 3 months since deadly wildfires tore through Maui, the focus has been cleaning up and restoring what once was, removing toxic debris from the ground and the air, toxic debris that has sparked major concern on the island. ABC's Will Carr got an exclusive look at the cleanup effort. He takes us with him on a network-wide reporting initiative, Maui 808.
Come with me.
It's been 3 months since the devastating fires in West Maui, and the images are still hard to watch.
You gotta go!
As the island grapples with grief, locals weave 2 miles of leis together in a ceremony representing protection of the Aina, the land, while the debris cleanup is getting underway. This was days after the fire, and this is Lahaina now. The Environmental Protection Agency responsible for phase 1 of the cleanup, removing hazardous material.
We are also, in addition, as requested by the county, applying a soil stabilizer. Overall, it prevents the ash from moving away from the areas where it burned and becoming airborne or running off into the street and into the stormwater drains.
And the Army Corps of Engineers now moving in for phase 2 to remove the debris, allowing ABC News a first look as they assess the hazards on each property.
We need to understand that this is not just a normal job site, that the pain and loss that has occurred here is something that we always have to remain respectful of.
Every morning, they start with the Na Aumakua, an ancestral prayer, as local residents and mainlanders prepare for a day filled with Ho'ohana, work filled with purpose.
1605.
Then a briefing before they head into the burn zone. Historic Front Street, one of the most popular parts of Lahaina, still deemed unsafe, Residents and business owners unable to return to see what's left.
3 months after the fire, arborists say that the historic banyan tree here on Front Street is in a state of coma. The green growth, though, they say, that is a sign of healing, very much symbolic with where the recovery is at this point for this community.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers working 7 days a week to clear out the debris.
So there's still a lot of dangers here. We've got unstable trees, we've got unstable walls, we've got hazardous materials that are still on the sites, but they will be allowed back just as soon as it's made safe.
And the federal government doing something it's never done before in a disaster area, hiring cultural monitors.
We just got to work together as one to identify what's important for the future generations tomorrow, not just come in and clean the place and, the job is done. I think there's more to it.
This week in Kula, 35 miles west of Lahaina, the Army Corps of Engineers clearing out debris on the first public property as its owner looks on. The State Department of Health announcing last month unvalidated preliminary data found high levels of lead and cobalt and extremely high levels of arsenic here, where 19 homes burned.
We believe these samples results may be generalizable to the materials that were burned in Lahaina. People should continue to assume the ash is very hazardous and should take the necessary precautions.
While EPA testing in late August shows the air quality in Lahaina is safe, the Department of Health still urging caution, saying cleanup activities could cause hazardous dust and ash to become airborne, and people can take precautions like wearing PPE and washing hands frequently. Lahaina residents like Maui County Council member Tamara Paulton says they worry about the long-term health effects, especially on the island's kids. The councilwoman has opted to send her 2 children to this makeshift school on the beach instead of going back to their Hawaiian immersion program at Lahaina Intermediate.
There's so much unknown that I don't want to take a risk with my children. I don't want them to be like an experiment.
Kaunaoa Garcia teaches 4th and 5th grade, but is choosing to teach at the beach instead.
I'm calling in sick every day to be here. These kids, they deserve the education that we want to give them. It might not be the ideal of the DOE, but they are learning. They are getting what they need here. It's just not in 4 walls.
Kaliko Store is homeschooling her 8-year-old son, Eliapo, who is also in the immersion program.
We're just asking to give us the best shot at being the healthiest. Give us the best shot to build this next generation.
She worries about the nearby toxic ash, even with the EPA soil stabilizer sprayed on top of the debris.
We understand that soil tack will secure what's right at the top. But if someone goes to sift through that, there goes the soil tack, right? So you still have that toxic ash still has that opportunity to catch wind and to make its way into the neighborhoods.
One environmental expert says their concerns are valid.
The fear is that material can be transported through the air to the school property, and that's a concern to individuals and people, and that's a real and fair concern. But you have to respect that everybody has different risk tolerances.
Samantha Kava'akoa deciding to let her son Kaikane return to his elementary school.
I live a 5-minute walk from the schools. What's the difference if I keep him home, or what's the difference if he goes up the hill 5 minutes, I'd rather him be in school where he's learning with his peers, with his teachers, getting back to some type of regular schedule.
She's one of many worrying about the fire's long-term health effects.
You're not far from the burns.
I know, and like today, where's the wind blowing?
Straight up.
Yeah. So it's kind of sad to know that maybe in 10 years, we're gonna have, issues that may be related to this.
Whether it's at school or at home, the trauma still rising for Kaikane.
He's obviously mad at the fire. He prays every night to fix the fire damage.
Thanks, God, for keeping me alive. Thanks for keeping me safe. Please fix this fire damage. Amen.
He's an 8-year-old wrapping his mind around the loss of his community and the potential dangers down the road.
And I haven't had a fire drill yet.
You haven't had a fire drill yet?
Not yet.
The DOE says both the air quality and the soil are safe. The EPA and DOH placing real-time air quality sensors outside all Lahaina schools, conducting bi-weekly wipes for particles in classrooms, and installing a weather station at Lahaina Intermediate to track wind patterns and trends across the land. For this community, Aina is sacred as the recovery continues.
Aina means everything. It means life.
It's the land that feeds.
Take care of the earth, and in return, the earth will take care of us.
And we're the voice to ensure that we build back better than how it was August 8th.
Promising plans there for the future. Our thanks to Will Carr for that. Still much more to get to tonight. Coming up, new developments in the Maine mass shooting investigation. Who's now looking into the case? And she's selling out shows around the world with her unique vocals and vulnerable lyrics. In our Prime playlist, Ray tells us why leaving a record label boosted her creativity. But next, the SAG-AFTRA strike is over. But how much of an impact did it have on Hollywood's bottom line? We take a closer look by the numbers.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along
I-5. Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Everybody in that home is okay.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. We are here at fashion's biggest night out.
What's happening today? YouTube has unveiled a new set of policies.
What people are talking about. The new ad campaign.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
A real-life Barbie dream house.
A name change for the Wienermobile.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
You know, that sounds pretty good.
Give it to me. Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food. GMA 3, what you need to know. A 3rd hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, Afternoons.
For everything you need to know. I love that.
I'm Marcus Moore covering the wildfires in Greece. Wherever the story is, we will take you there. You're streaming with ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. Hollywood Studios and the SAG-AFTRA union reached a deal to end one of the longest labor strikes in Hollywood history, but it comes with a heavy economic cost. Let's take a look by the numbers. The Actors Union and Studios announced the $1 billion plus tentative deal last night, ending the 118 days long strike that had helped shut down Hollywood, the longest labor standoff in the union's 90 years of existence. The SAG-AFTRA union represents some 160,000 actors and entertainers who had gone to the picket lines over issues from compensation for streaming projects to protections from AI technology. Those issues have been addressed in the tentative deal, and the studios say the new contract will offer major compensation increases, including the largest increase in minimum wages for actors in the past 40 years. The end of the actor strike comes after the Writers Guild of America ended its own 148 days long strike in late September after winning a deal addressing similar concerns for its 11,500 members. The American movie and television industry is a $134 billion business impacting some 2 million Americans who either work directly or indirectly in the industry. And the Hollywood economy took a beating during the dual strikes. One economist estimated the cost at some $6 billion in losses nationwide as the shutdown of entertainment productions went far beyond actors and writers, impacting everyone from crew members to caterers to publicists to local businesses working in and around the industry. And the economic pinch may just be starting for some in Hollywood as entertainment companies look to cut back on the number of shows and films that they order as they face mounting pressure of the skyrocketing costs of making that Hollywood magic. And we still have much more ahead here on Prime tonight. A college freshman is shot and killed by a stray bullet. How long she waited before someone called for help. And how a song written 35 years ago is now receiving a huge honor and making history for the songwriter. But first, a look at our top trending stories on abcnews.com.
It all began so beautifully. Suddenly, there was a shot. Mrs. Kennedy's leg was stained her husband's blood. She said, I want them to see what they have done to Jack. The commentator was saying, Lyndon Johnson, now President of the United States. That was when the enormity struck me.
I was walking onto a stage for a part I had never rehearsed. I ought to record this.
Dr. King's been shot. Senator Kennedy had been shot. But Vietnam dominated the news. What is our country coming to? Are we a sick society? I felt extreme hostility in front of Mrs. Jacqueline Kennedy. Was it because I was alive? The greatest courage is to go about the day's work. That's a large order for a woman.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Everybody in that home is okay.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. We are here at fashion's biggest night out.
What's happening today? YouTube has unveiled a new set of policies.
What people are talking about. The new ad campaign.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
A real-life Barbie dream house.
A name change for the Wienermobile.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
Get ready, America, every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. What's the right stuff to buy right now? I really love that. It's time to buy the right stuff.
Yes!
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA. You're going to love it.
Wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Getting you behind the stories as they happen.
ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Streaming free on ABC News Live.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
New details on the probe into the Maine mass shooting, the latest charges in that brawl on an Alabama riverfront, and a singer makes music history with a song written more than 3 decades ago. These stories and much more in tonight's Rundown.
Less than 1 month since the tragic shooting took the lives of 18 people in Lewiston, Maine. Governor Janet Mills and Attorney General Aaron Fry announced today they will be establishing an independent commission to investigate the facts of the mass shooting. The commission, tasked with determining the facts of the October 25th shootings, will look at a variety of factors, including the months leading up to the tragedy, as well as the police response. The governor and the Attorney General have appointed 7 experts with extensive legal, investigative, and mental health backgrounds to serve on the independent commission. The Alabama riverboat dock worker who was involved in a brawl that went viral on social media has now been charged with assault, according to Montgomery Municipal Court records. Damian Pickett, who was initially identified by police as a victim of the altercation that led to a massive brawl, is now due in court for arraignment on the misdemeanor charge. Pickett, who spoke out about the incident in an exclusive interview with Good Morning America in September, said that he was, quote, just in shock, going on to say that after he was assaulted, he had to defend himself. A total of 6 people were charged with involvement in the brawl.
An 18-year-old college freshman who was shot in the head by a stray bullet while she was walking on a track in Nashville died from her injuries overnight. Belmont University's president described Jillian Ludwig as a music lover who enjoyed being outside. Police say she wasn't found until an hour after being shot when someone passing by spotted her and called police. The student was initially said to be in extremely critical condition before succumbing to her injuries overnight. Shaquille Taylor was arrested and charged with aggravated assault and evidence tampering for the shooting, according to Nashville police. Taylor remains jailed on a $280,000 bond. Metro Police are in discussions to upgrade his charges. The Las Vegas Hotel Workers Union and MGM have agreed to a tentative contract, narrowly avoiding a strike. The Culinary Workers Union announced the tentative 5-year agreement Thursday that it said covers about 25,000 workers at the Aria, Bellagio, Excalibur, Luxor, Mandalay Bay, MGM Grand, and more. Union leaders said in a statement that workers have secured significant raises every year for the next 5 years, preserved our great union health insurance, union pension, and comprehensive union benefits. A major medical breakthrough coming out of New York today, where surgeons announced they have performed the first ever whole eye transplant in a human. Though the patient has not regained sight in the eye 6 months since the surgery, the grafted eye has shown important signs of health, including well-functioning blood vessels and a promising-looking retina, according to the surgical team at NYU Langone Health. The surgery, which took more than 21 hours, was performed on Aaron James, a 46-year-old military veteran from Arkansas who survived a work-related high-voltage electrical accident that destroyed the left side of his face.
And singer Luke Combs winning Song of the Year at the Country Music Awards for a song written more than 3 decades ago. The song Fast Car was written by Grammy winner Tracy Chapman more than 30 years ago.
I got a plan to get us out of here, been working at the convenience store.
She's now the first Black songwriter to win Song of the Year at the CMAs. Combs thanking her for writing what he calls one of the best songs of all time. Chapman calling it an honor for her song to be newly recognized 35 years after its debut.
Speaking of music, right now is Ray's moment. The British-born singer is selling out shows across the world, earning more than 32 million monthly Spotify listeners. And tomorrow, the deluxe version of her album, My 21st Century Blues, will be available on all streaming platforms. And it's not just Ray's vocals that draw in fans by the droves. It's the honesty in her songwriting, vulnerability in her performances. Our Phil Lipoff sat down with a 26-year-old to talk about her journey to stardom and how she found creative freedom after years away from the spotlight.
Ray has been running towards stardom her whole life.
Sleazing and teasing, I'm sitting on him.
Her 2022 release, Escapism, streamed more than 500 million times.
Back to the intro, back to the bar, to the Bentley, to the hotel, to my old way.
That success, and perhaps more important to the 25-year-old, her artistic freedom, did not come overnight.
When I signed my record deal when I was 17, in my mind, I was going to be like, here's my album. And they were like, yeah, okay, great. They were like, okay, so you could go and do some sessions with these people. Go and work right with them.
She says her label ignored what she wanted to create, instead put her together with some of the biggest DJs and producers to make dance hits like You Don't Know Me. The Jax Jones 2016 release featuring Ray climbed to #3 on the UK charts. After that, Secrets.
What a way to drop a bombshell, baby. Guess you really didn't think I'd find out.
And then, Bed. Another top 10 hit with her friend and DJ legend, David Guetta. Her voice becoming synonymous with the genre, but only that genre.
I was there for 7 years, and in my mind, I had written many, many different albums worth of stuff that would have made sense in it. You know, like, it's like hundreds of songs.
She even wrote hits for other artists, like Bigger for Beyonce. Finally, after 7 years in 2021, Ray says she had had enough and took to social media claiming that her label was preventing her from releasing her own album instead of just single after single. Shortly after that, she was let out of her contract. Suddenly, untethered, independent, and ready to be Ray.
Ultimately, it forces you as an artist to focus on the only thing you can control, and that is the quality of your art. And the idea is that if it gets into one person's eardrums, you're like, you know, they're listening and they're like, wow.
You said, I don't want to create music for the purpose solely to sell. That doesn't give me joy. When I heard you say that, I wrote it down immediately.
I had to get to a place where I was like, I don't care how this music performs. I don't care what it does. What I care about is the fact that I love it.
That love for music began when Ray, or Rachel Agatha Keane, was a child in Yorkshire, England.
I sang at church, and my parents are definitely musical, but were never professionally musical. At 7 years old, I turned around to my dad and I was like, Dad, I'm going to be a songwriter. My granddad used to write songs. It's just in the blood, the passion's in the blood.
It's an interesting thing for a 7-year-old to say.
I wrote and recorded my first song when I was about 8. I still have the recordings, but you are not allowed to hear them because I sound terrible.
What was the name of the song?
The song was called Change My World, and I wrote this song about a homeless man that I'd seen, and I was really upset.
One line.
Cold and tired and hungry, life is just so hard for me. Yeah, all I want is a peaceful world, something like that.
The writing was on the wall. In her teens, her passion for music grew, inspired by legends like Nina Simone. Ray seen here singing Feeling Good. All these years later, opening for stars like SZA and Kali Uchis, seen at fashion shows with Ice Spice and Lil Nas X. Now headlining her own tour, and Ray fans around the world finally have her first full-length solo album, My 21st Century Blues, and it begins like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm heartbreak welcome to the wonderful Ray.
A 13-song journey, pop mixed with jazz, R&B, and a little dance, with lyrics to match the highs and lows of the life she's lived. There's Oscar-winning Tears. She performed in August on Good Morning America's concert series.
Cry those
And deeply personal songs like Ice Cream Man.
coming like the ice cream man till I felt his ice cold hands.
Written about being sexually assaulted.
Whenever you go to that place, I think a lot of people who experience some of these things experience PTSD and experience the aftermath of trauma that was dealt to you that you didn't deserve. Like, you know, having to figure out how to pick your life up after you've been completely broken and abused. And that's a song that I made to just remind myself how strong I am.
She makes that very clear in the chorus.
'Cause I'm a woman, I'm a very big, brave, strong woman, and I'll be damned if I let a man ruin how I walk, how I talk, how I do it.
Do you sing it every night you play?
No, not every night.
That would be difficult.
Yeah, I really try to as much as I can, because I know every time I sing it, I know there's at least one little girl in the audience who is like, thank you for singing this song.
One of the many new benefits of having creative control. Here's another one.
Thank you.
Escapism, her first single as an independent artist, shot to #1 in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Equally as thrilled to show us her platinum album hanging on the wall. And now, a live album recording at the famed Royal Albert Hall in London. The announcement came this spring on Instagram.
What's it going to be like?
It's going to be amazing. It's definitely not cheap, like, just so people know, okay?
Remind me
Reinvest
that you
into
are
your
independent.
artistry. Independent artist.
Independent artistry.
No, it's going to be a dream come true. That's exactly what it's going to be. I think Escapism is going to be insane with dun dun dun, you know, them chords.
The song is upbeat, but for us, Ray played it like this.
Sleazing and teasing, I'm sitting on him. All of my diamonds are dripping on him. I met him at the bar, it was 12 or something. I ordered 2 more wines, 'cause tonight I want him. 'Cause I don't wanna feel how I did last night. I don't wanna feel how I did last night. Doctor, doctor, anything please. Have mercy on me, take this pain away. You're asking me my symptoms, doctor, I don't feel.
In the middle of her longest tour yet, 133 shows.
When I come out the other side of that, we'll see. Yeah. But I do have some things in the vibe, so there's no rules. I don't know, and I'm also a very spontaneous person. I could wake up tomorrow and be like, guys, I feel like we're gonna drop an EP full of this, and that. Like, you just don't know with me.
So there's nothing to regret, other than this 4/4 kick drum pounding in my head.
Really fascinating. Our thanks to Phil for bringing us that. And finally tonight, would you ever consider climbing the Empire State Building? Tourists and New Yorkers got quite a different performance today from a Hollywood star. Academy Award-winning actor and singer Jared Leto scaled the top of the famous landmark today, climbing from the 86th floor all the way to the 104th floor. That's nearly 1,300 feet above the ground. The climb was to promote his new world tour with his band 30 Seconds to Mars. Leto is the first person to ever legally climb to the top of the Empire State Building. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. In the next hour, a heart-stopping moment caught on camera when police say 2 deputies were intentionally hit by a car. Bad Bunny is speaking out against a new song that's using artificial intelligence to fake his voice, how he's fighting back.
Wherever whenever news breaks. It's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Getting you behind the stories as they happen.
ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Streaming free on ABC News Live. From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
It's lunchtime in America, so what are we serving up?
Well, how about everything you need to know?
You know, that sounds pretty good.
Give it to me. Your health, your money, breaking news, pop culture, with the biggest stars, music, trends, and of course, good food. GMA 3, what you need to know. A third hour of GMA in the afternoon.
So join us, afternoons.
For everything you need to know. I love that.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine, close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
We're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do? Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone. This is ABC News Live Prime. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We got a lot of news to get to this evening, including the pause is now in effect in Gaza as Israel agrees to allow for safe passage, evacuations, and more. Plus, the ongoing investigation into fentanyl-laced envelopes that are now being received by election offices nationwide. And we take you to a small repair shop in the most unlikely of places, giving millions of students access to music when we sit down with the Oscar award-winning filmmakers behind The Last Repair Shop. But we begin with Israel formalizing and expanding those 4-hour pauses amid the relentless fighting and bombardment in Gaza, and brand new images of a U.S. retaliatory airstrike on Iranian-backed forces in Syria in the last day. The DoD released video from the F-15s that targeted a weapons storage facility in Syria. This comes as the White House announced Israel has agreed to expand 4-hour pauses in the fighting to give Palestinian civilians safe passage. Thousands are fleeing North Gaza, many on foot. The pause may help the urgent negotiations for the release of some 240 hostages still being held in Gaza. Video released by Hamas's military wing shows its fighters in running battles in close contact with Israeli forces. Israel's Defense Force also released new footage of its troops pushing deeper into Gaza City. We begin tonight with our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, on the ground in Tel Aviv.
Tonight, dramatic new video showing the moment the U.S. unleashed retaliatory airstrikes on what it says are Iranian-backed forces in Syria. The Pentagon saying it hit a weapons storage facility used in attacks on American troops in Iraq and Syria. This was the second such strike, coming after at least 46 drone and rocket attacks on US forces since mid-October, including 4 more in the past 24 hours. Most were intercepted and no serious injuries were reported. Also tonight, American and Israeli spy chiefs conducting high-level negotiations to free more of the 239 hostages, including Americans, held in Gaza. A US official confirming to ABC News that CIA Director Burns took part in a meeting in Doha today with the head of Israel's Mossad and the Qatari Prime Minister regarding a potential deal. And today, the White House claiming Israel's agreed to expand daily 4-hour combat pauses in northern Gaza to let more civilians flee. President Biden asked if he wanted more from Israel.
Did you ask for a 3-day pause to Netanyahu for that?
Yes. I've asked for even a longer pause for some of it.
Are you frustrated with Prime Minister Netanyahu that he has not listened more to some of the things you have asked him to do?
It's taken a little longer than I hoped.
With more Gazans fleeing the bombing through humanitarian corridors, some families finally reunited. Today, our team was with Rami Massoud, who saw his wife and sons for the first time in nearly 3 weeks. His wife recounting a terrifying journey on foot, seeing dead people on the ground, bullets flying over the heads of her and her children. And tonight, haunting new images of 2 of the Israeli hostages held inside Gaza. Palestinian Islamic Jihad releasing a video of 77-year-old Hannah Katzir and 12-year-old Yagil Yaakov. ABC News isn't showing it, but the families agreed to us using these images. They were both kidnapped from kibbutz near Oz. Yagil hid in a safe room with his older brother Or, their father and his partner. They tried in vain to hold the door closed, but the terrorists burst in. The last thing his mother heard her son say was, "Don't take me, I'm too young."
They're not bargain chips, they're children. Children anywhere in the world are not supposed to be part of this. Not in Gaza, nor in Israel, nor in Ukraine, nowhere in the world.
We already buried them.
We were back in kibbutz Nir Oz today with Ron Bahat, one of the surviving members. He showed us home after home of residents killed or captured, including that of Hannah Katzir, who appeared in that video today.
They murdered Rami in the house and took Hannah. She's missing.
At the end of the video today, Hannah sends her love to her husband Rami. She still doesn't know yet that he was killed by the terrorists that day.
Just heartbreaking stories. Our thanks to Ian for that. Here at home, the FBI is investigating after envelopes containing fentanyl or another powdery substance were mailed to election offices in at least 3 states. Officials are calling it domestic terrorism, and it's just the latest hostile act targeting election workers across this country. ABC senior investigative reporter Aaron Katursky has the details.
Tonight, just days after Americans cast their votes, the FBI is investigating threatening letters that were sent to election facilities in 5 states where those ballots are counted.
At least 4 of those letters testing positive for fentanyl.
This is a form of domestic terrorism. That's all that it is. And unfortunately, what they're doing is putting innocent people at risk and disrupting our elections.
The letters were sent to California, Georgia, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington state, where 4 election offices were evacuated.
As I sat down for my own batch to open up, the fire alarm went off. Immediately, we knew that something was going on.
First responders near Seattle said preliminary tests showed the presence of fentanyl. In Tacoma, police finding a letter containing baking soda and a message advising it was meant to end elections now. In Georgia, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was alerted to a letter heading to Fulton County.
Well, we don't know what's in it. We just have to assume the worst and be prepared for that.
Raffensperger's concerned that envelope could also contain fentanyl, just a tiny amount. What can fit on the tip of a pen could be fatal. They've now equipped Fulton County officials with Narcan.
Some people like to call fentanyl a drug, but it's actually poison. It'll kill you. It'll kill you very quickly, very easily.
Threats to election workers have become more frequent in recent years, prompting a troubling exodus from their ranks after the 2020 presidential election.
Our thanks to Aaron Katursky. 2 days after Democrats' strong election showing a bombshell announcement that threatens their Senate majority, Senator Joe Manchin announced he will not seek re-election in 2024 in the deep red state of West Virginia. It came as President Biden was taking a victory lap with union auto workers in Illinois, reminding them he stood with them during their strike. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce.
Tonight, a political bombshell from Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, the conservative Democrat announcing he will not run for re-election in the deep red state.
I believe in my heart of hearts that I've accomplished what I set out to do for West Virginia.
The move has huge implications for Democrats' ability to hold on to the Senate and possibly the White House. Manchin today clearly leaving the door open for a third-party presidential run.
What I will be doing is traveling the country and speaking out to see if there is an interest in creating a movement to mobilize the middle and bring Americans together.
Manchin is affiliated with a group called No Labels that is exploring a centrist unity ticket in 2024. They are already on the presidential ballot in 12 states, including several key battlegrounds. But Democrats warn they could play spoiler, taking votes away from President Biden and benefiting Donald Trump. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has called No Labels perilous to democracy. Biden has called their efforts a mistake. The president today with auto workers in Illinois, taking a victory lap after they won a new contract. Biden reminding those workers he joined them on the picket line, the first president in history to do so, and Donald Trump did not.
Here's the difference. When you're in the middle of a fight, I stood and others stood with you shoulder to shoulder on that picket line. Yeah. My predecessor went to a non-union shop and attacked you.
Yes, they did.
I hope you guys have a memory. Where I come from, it matters.
The president reminding them he stood with them. Our thanks to Mary Bruce for that. Now to some disturbing images of two sheriff's deputies critically injured when they were allegedly intentionally hit by a car near Tampa, Florida. Officials say they were called to a neighborhood by a mother who said her adult son was suffering a mental health crisis. Surveillance and body camera video shows what happened next. ABC's Victor Kendo has a story, and we do warn you the images could be difficult to watch.
Tonight, two Florida deputies are fighting for their lives after what authorities say was an ambush.
These deputies never had a chance. They didn't have a chance to get out of the way. They didn't have a chance to do anything.
Authorities in Hillsborough County say they were responding to a 911 call this morning from a woman saying her adult son was acting irrationally and being violent.
He was kicking in doors throughout the house, and she was in fear for her life.
When they arrived, the man was inside this silver sedan. When they try to engage, he backs up and takes off. Moments later, surveillance footage shows him then speeding right at the deputies.
He's accelerating at such a high rate of speed, and he strikes both of them,
ramming 39-year-old Corporal Carlos Brito and 31-year-old Deputy Manuel Santos.
Corporal Carlos Brito has suffered the most serious of injuries between the two deputies. His leg may be amputated.
Get out the vehicle right now!
The suspect coming out of the vehicle, walking toward other officers, who then use a taser, taking him down.
Victor Kendo joins us now. Victor, what's the status of those deputies and what charges does this suspect face?
Lindsay, both deputies were airlifted to the hospital for surgery. They are in serious condition. The suspect, who has a history of violence against law enforcement, is now facing attempted murder charges. Lindsay?
Victor Kendo for us. Thanks so much, Victor. Tonight, police in Nashville say a college student from New Jersey shot in broad daylight by a stray bullet has died. The Belmont University freshman was struck while walking in a park. Authorities say the suspect has a history of mental illness and was just released in May. Here's Faith Abube.
Tonight, family and friends of New Jersey native Jillian Ludwig heartbroken. The college freshman struck in the head by a stray bullet has succumbed to her injuries after the shooting at a Nashville public park Tuesday. Authorities now considering elevating the aggravated assault charges against the shooting suspect, 29-year-old Shaquille Taylor. Police say he was aiming his gun at a nearby vehicle when he allegedly fired the weapon from across the street, hitting 18-year-old Ludwig, who was walking on a track. Authorities say the shooting suspect was charged with aggravated assault back in April, but state law allowed him to be released after 3 court-appointed doctors testified that he was incompetent to stand trial. The DA now asking the state legislature to change that law. Ludwig was a student at Belmont University. In a statement, the university president describing her as an engaged community member who loved music.
That campus obviously in mourning. Faith Abube joins us now. Faith, what's happening with the suspect at this time?
Well, Lindsay, the suspect in this case was supposed to appear in court today on unrelated car theft charges. But once the victim died from her injuries, that court appearance was waived as authorities discuss upgrading his charges. Lindsay.
Faith Abube for us. Thanks so much, Faith. Artificial intelligence is advancing faster than American laws can keep up. Artists across the board are desperately looking for ways to protect themselves and their bodies of work. Now, Bad Bunny is just the latest star to fight back against AI imposters. ABC's Whit Johnson has more.
At first listen, you might think this sounds like Latin superstar Bad Bunny featuring Justin Bieber and Daddy Yankee, but you'd be wrong. Instead, it's an artificial intelligence fake. The song titled Nostalgia, created by the TikTok account @FlowGPTMusic, has gone viral with over 1 million views.
The AI scraped the data from his existing recordings and then was able to create a generative voice sound-alike.
The Where She Goes rapper is blasting the track, voicing outrage on his WhatsApp channel, saying, "If you like that expletive song that's viral on TikTok, get out of this group right now. You don't deserve to be my friends." Adding, "And that's why I made the new album, to get rid of people like that. So choo-choo out." The creator of the Bad Bunny AI fake responding to the backlash, telling ABC News, "My intention is not to harm human artists, since my creator is also one. It is to generate a collaborative world in music." Bad Bunny is just one of a growing number of A-listers pushing back against AI technology used to create unauthorized vocals and songs, like Beyoncé's hit Cuff It. But in this AI version, recreated to sound like Rihanna.
Streaming services seem open to comply with those requests based on existing rights of publicity, which now currently only exist in state level, but there is legislation to bring federally.
But some artists are finding ways to embrace the technology, like iconic rock band The Beatles. With the help of AI, lifting John Lennon's voice from a 1970s demo tape to create what the group calls their final song.
So many opposing views on that. Our thanks to Whit Johnson for it. Still much more to get to tonight. Coming up, how a small repair shop is giving millions access to the joy of music and changing the lives of young people in the process. But next, anti-government protests take a deadly turn. The contract thousands of people have spent weeks demonstrating against.
Whenever news breaks,
the crushing families here in Poland.
Here in Kentucky, no match for the tornado.
From Monterey Park, California, on the ground in Ukraine.
Reporting from Uvalde, Texas.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
From Kathmandu, Nepal.
In Truckee, California, covering record snowfall.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
Here at this airport in Tampa, it's already shut down.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Reporting from Jerusalem.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
Everything is so fine, little bit of sunshine. Some more, just a little bit. Breathe more, just a little bit. Smile a little more, and I'm into it. I've been running through the strange life. Pictures on my phone, like everything is so fine, little bit of sunshine.
Good morning, America.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Reporting from South Korea, I'm Joo-hee Cho. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back. We're tracking several headlines around the world. Several hundred people marched in Berlin to mark the 85th anniversary of the Nazis' Kristallnacht pogrom of Jews. At least 91 Jews were murdered, about 7,500 Jewish businesses ransacked, and some 30,000 Jewish men and boys arrested during the assaults which preceded the Holocaust. Incidents of anti-Semitism have surged globally since the outbreak of the Israeli-Hamas war, causing particular soul-searching in Germany, which has prided itself on its culture of remembering its dark past and drawing from it a historic duty to fight anti-Jewish hate. Social tension swelled in Panama after 2 people taking part in an anti-government protest were shot dead on Tuesday by an unknown assailant. The deaths come as street protests by thousands of Panamanians during the past weeks over a new mining contract signed with Canadian mining firm First Quantum Minerals spilled into wider discontent with the government. The family of the father of Liverpool player Luis Diaz reacted with joy when Colombia's National Liberation Army freed him after his kidnapping almost 2 weeks ago. The kidnapping of Luis Manuel Diaz has disrupted the government's peace talks with the ELN, which restarted last year in the hopes of ending the group's part in Colombia's 60-year conflict. In a warehouse in Los Angeles, a small repair shop brings unquantifiable generational joy. This team repairs LA Unified School District's musical instruments, giving millions access to the joy of music for free. It's the subject of Chris Bowers and Ben Proudfoot's latest project, The Last Repair Shop.
Difficult work.
But no matter what,
You do whatever it takes because
Fixing stuff is one of the best things that humans do.
that's why this is not just a musical instrument repair shop. When an instrument breaks, there's a student without an instrument. No, not in our city.
even if they don't know me, we know it could change their whole life.
That one shot right there captures all the magic. And we are joined now by Grammy-nominated co-director Chris Bowers and Academy Award nominee co-director Ben Proudfoot. Thank you both so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Just want to start right off with the idea of LA Unified having this remarkable program to repair these instruments for free. How did this idea come about to tell this story?
Yeah, well, one of our producers, Jeremy Lambert, actually sent Ben an article about the repair shop, and he was just so surprised, you know, being in LA and not knowing that story, to try to see if we could have access to this amazing environment. And for me, when he told me about it, being from LA and going to LAUSD schools and music being such a huge part of my life, I also immediately was so excited about this magical place I didn't know existed.
And yeah, you say you grew up in the LA Unified School District. What was that like?
I mean, for me, you know, music was such a huge part of my life as a kid. I started playing piano when I was 4, and in elementary school, middle school, that was really my way of interfacing with the public. I feel like I was never really I was always introverted. I didn't really feel comfortable processing my emotions verbally or outwardly, and so piano immediately became this way for me to process how I felt, for me to deal with any difficult emotions, and so having access to that in music classes or just, you know, in the auditorium or any of that was really integral to my growing up.
And Ben, I know this isn't the first time that you all have worked together, but in this particular case, what was it like meeting the people who are impacted and talking to them about how this is maybe life-changing for them?
Yeah, you know, it's always a joy to show up with a big camera crew into somebody's life. You may probably know this experience. And with the spirit of saying, you know, it's finally showtime, to give you the respect and honor that we think you deserve. And the film just released yesterday on YouTube, and already we're getting all kinds of texts from the 4 repair people in the movie who, you know, they're not used to getting a lot of attention and love. And it makes me emotional to think about, because there's so many people, especially in education, who just don't get thanked, right? Who work for decades and never get thanked.
And why is it so important? People I don't think really often see these kinds of stories to realize the value of actually giving to the arts.
Yeah. I don't know exactly why it is. I think, it's like Dead Poet Society, right? Like, these are the things that we live for. But I think what the movie tries to get at is how having access to a musical instrument, no matter what your background is or whether you can afford it or not, can transform your life. You can either, become an amazing professional musician like Chris, or maybe that gives you the confidence to go on and do something else. But I believe, and we both believe, that it's something that we must invest in. And that's what The Last Repair Shop is all about. And you hear it from the kids, too, when they have their moment in the film.
And talking about the moment, there is a part toward the end where you see the young kids playing the score with the professionals. Kind of give us a sense of the excitement and what it was like for the kids from their perspective.
It was pretty thrilling, for them to record at Warner Brothers and be sitting next to these people that have played on so many scores and so many recordings that they probably have heard and grown up listening to. And for us, we talked about from very early on this idea of having this multi-generational orchestra of musicians that have all been touched by this repair shop. And so having kids from, the age of 7 to these veterans that are nearly 70 that, went to LAUSD schools playing together, I think was so amazing to see all come together. And for people to not even recognize or know that somebody that they've known for a long time actually also went to an LAUSD school and have that in common. But for the kids especially, I think just having that experience, I really hope, helps them to feel even more confident moving forward as musicians.
I know you guys both have very busy schedules. Any upcoming projects that you want to share with us?
Yeah, for me, on the scoring side as a composer, I worked on Ava DuVernay's Origin, which comes out in December, and also The Color Purple, which comes out around Christmas.
Busy, busy. Chris, Ben, we thank you both so much for coming on the show, making the time. Really appreciate it. Want to let our viewers know that The Last Repair Shop is available to watch via the LA Times website or the LA Times YouTube page. And still to come, she was one of the most decorated college athletes in history, and she's sticking around on the field. How she's about to make history again.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television. From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do? Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Finally tonight, we're taking a trip to Chapel Hill, North Carolina to meet Erin Matson. She was already one of the most decorated college athletes in history, but now she's making history again from a different part of the field. Our Danny New has her story.
All right, let's knock it off. There was a time when maybe we expected a head coach to be a lot older than the players. Enter Erin Matson, the youngest coach in Division I athletics, whom the University of North Carolina hired at 22 years old.
And the Carolina Tar Heels have completed the undefeated season.
Last November, in her senior season at the school, Erin won her, get ready, 4th national championship in field hockey.
What's winning all the time like?
I would say addicting.
Set up for Madsen. The big ball hit.
But this process actually began that summer when the three-year captain found out that her coach was going to retire after the season. Maybe most seniors wouldn't have this thought, but Erin was like, hey, I should apply.
Our athletic director said, okay, go win a national championship. And I said, all right. We did.
Who's helping? Who's joining?
Obviously, it took some convincing.
I'm young, but I'm mature and I'm willing to ask those questions and learn and grow.
18.
But hey, it's probably hard to turn down someone who has been described as the, quote, Michael Jordan of field hockey at his alma mater.
Top of the circle, big windup, and bounced in.
Well, guess what? This past weekend, that gamble paid off for the school.
26th ACC title for Carolina.
As Erin became the first field hockey coach in ACC history to win the conference her first season. Maybe she's young, but some people just know how to win.
And now you're thinking, one game at a time, let's win the national. Let's win
Exactly.
Winning is addictive for sure. Thanks to Danny New for that. The NCAA tournament for field hockey begins tomorrow, where North Carolina is the first seed overall. And that is our show for tonight. I'm Lindsay Davis. ABC News Live is here for you all night with the latest news, context, and analysis. You can always find us on Hulu, Roku, Pluto TV, and the ABC News app, and of course, abcnews.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night. This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Everybody in that home is okay.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. We are here at fashion's biggest night out.
What's happening today? YouTube has unveiled a new set of policies.
What people are talking about. The new ad campaign.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
A real-life Barbie dream house.
A name change for the Wienermobile.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
Why do so many people start their